Hi everyone, I'm so glad you've come back for more. We're now on number 17 as we look through this amazing book, Song of Solomon. We're on chapter 2 and we're going to be finishing off chapter 2, looking at verses 16 and 17. But as an introduction to this, Rich and I really enjoy watching The Chosen. If you haven't watched it, you really need to. It's just an incredible look at the life of Jesus, the life of the disciples, the life of the people in the Gospels, just in a way you've never seen before. Really, it's really great. Now, I've been a Christian almost 40 years. I have seen many films about Jesus. And to be honest, when I saw another one, it was in, I think it was Christmas, not the last one, but the one before. So Christmas 2019, when Rich and I came across it looking for something to watch. And I just thought, seen so many of them. I know what happens. I've read the book. Then I found to watch it. But no, we didn't know what else. It was only rubbish on the TV. So it was actually on an app and we cast it onto our TV and watched it. Wow. Even the first one. You can watch it for free or you can pay as you go if you like, but other people have been before and have paid the way because it's so good. And the whole thing has been filmed, crowd-funded. People like you and me have paid for these films to be created by a guy called Dallas Jenkins from a church in America who used to do them for his church, little snippets of the Bible. Anyway, definitely worth a watch. But to the point. So I was watching and I just so loved Jesus' attitude to the disciples, that he had these guys, real rough diamonds. They argued about which one of them was best. They argued about who'd done the most things, how many healings they'd seen. They wanted to call fire down on people who weren't on the same wavelength as them. They denied him. They didn't believe him. They didn't believe he'd been resurrected. All these things, they were ordinary, everyday human beings, people like you and me, who got things wrong. And Jesus never said, oh, right, you're sacked. I made a mistake, got the wrong one. You can't do this. You've obviously got the wrong attitude. You're obviously too proud, angry, insecure, whatever the things were. He never said that. He was just really loving. He understood he had to work with imperfect human beings. And he just loved them and led them along better paths, right paths, taught them about love and taught them about gentleness and all these things. And he just continued to be an example to them. And he looked at them with love when their attitudes were wrong, never condemning, never, ever condemned their bad attitude. It might have been sharp sometime. One time he said to Peter, get behind me, Satan. Wow. Imagine having that said to you when you're talking to the saviour of the universe and you think you're doing the right thing and you're only saying it because you love him. But he said it, I'm certain, he said it with love and understanding and just wanting Peter to recognise the things in his life that weren't right for his benefit as well as for the benefit of the kingdom. Anyway, I was noticing that, and then when I came to do Song of Solomon, I suddenly saw something that I hadn't seen before. Back in verse 12, it said he comes up in verse 9, she says he comes along, verse 9 of chapter 2. My beloved is like a gazelle. Look, he's standing behind the wall, gazing to the lattice. He spoke to me and he said, come, my darling, the winter's past. He's saying now's the time to come and meet with me. And he says the flowers appear on the earth. And in verse 13, he says, the fig tree forms its early fruit, or as we've seen, it means it ripens its winter fruit. The blossoming vines spread their fragrance. Arise, come, my darling, my beautiful one. Now he calls her to come when the vine is in blossom. Now that means there's no fruit on the vine. No fruit in the life of the church, of the person. No fruit, just a promise of fruit. Because a blossom is the promise of the fruit. If that blossom gets pollinated and the plant it's on gets watered and fed, gets the right amount of sun, that blossom will turn into a fruit. So as of yet, when the groom calls his bride to come and be with him, at that point, there is no fruit being made available. There is no fruit seen. All it is an opportunity for fruit. It's when this bloom has opened itself to the surrounding circumstances and made itself available to be pollinated. Just that slight opening itself. And I believe what the Lord is saying is he doesn't call us to meet with him when we're perfect, when we're fully formed, when we've overcome that sinful attitude in our life or that sinful action in our life, or when we've studied the word and we know it all completely. When he calls us when we've just opened ourselves to him, opened ourselves and said, okay, I want to see some fruit in my life, so I'm going to make myself available. And that is fantastic. That's just how Jesus treated the disciples. He spoke to them, he taught them, he led them when their attitudes were wrong, when they were grumpy, when they were fighting with each other. And he just said, oh, these are the times that I can speak to you, I can teach you, that you can learn from it. I just thought, wow, that is brilliant. Another thing that says to us, you don't have to be perfect first. He loves us and accepts us as we are, and he's just waiting for us to open ourselves to that opportunity so that what he's made available can come in and fertilize that plant, and then the fruit will begin to grow and it'll be watered and fed. And we do need to keep watering and feeding the things that we learn. So you today, you are a blossom, you are opening, and the Lord is providing for you something to fertilize your blossom so that you can begin to produce fruit. And then when you get that something in your life, then you're going to use that to you need to water it, you need to keep remembering it. Yes, the Lord said to me this, the Lord spoke to me that he accepts me as I am. So I must remember next time I get it wrong, I can still turn straight away to Jesus, because that's the fruit that's beginning to grow in my life, an ability to turn to him, even when I feel wrong and not good enough. And you can't say not good enough. If you've watched the previous ones, you'll know you can never say you're not good enough. Okay, so verses 16 and 17. And these were some of the things that struck me most when I was reading this book the first time. She declares, my beloved is mine, and I am his. He browses among the lilies. Until the day breaks and the shadows flee, turn, my beloved, and be like a gazelle or like a young stag on the rugged hills. Now remember, she said back at the beginning already that he was, look, here he comes, my beloved, like a gazelle or a young stag, looking, bounding towards her. So the first thing we see is she declares, my beloved is mine and I am his. That is where she thinks she is. She believes, she knows he loves her, and she believes she loves him. And that's what she says with her mouth. And this reminds me of times when we're in church or in front of others, maybe on Zoom, and we're worshipping, and we might have hands up and we're worshipping and we're saying, my beloved is mine. And then after the Zoom finishes, somebody calls us and asks us for help, or God says, I want you to stay in a place of worship. And we go, oh, actually, I'm sorry, I've got to make dinner, or I've already told somebody I'm meeting them in town, or I'd already planned to watch the rest of my program. I've got this to do or that to do. We say we love him and that he's ours, but when we're asked to show that in our actions, we respond like she did, and she says, turn, my beloved. That means you go. She's saying to him, she starts that, until the day breaks and the shadows flee. Right now, it's dark. There's lots of shadows. But I see, Jesus, that you can do anything. You're like a gazelle. Your feet, gazelles can jump up and down the mountains in pitch black. The particular mountain goats that she's speaking of, their feet are sturdy. It talks about hinds feet and on the mountains in another part of scripture. They're so familiar with being on the mountain. The mountain represents a place where you come closer to God. Up the mountain, you're going closer to be with him. So he's familiar with that, and he's a gazelle. He's able to. He's got the strong feet. He can do it. He's done it before, and it's easy for Jesus to go and do those things. So she says, until the day breaks, until the sun comes and it's not dark anymore. So in a time that's more convenient to me, when I'll be able to see where I'm going. Because you see, Jesus, you can go when it's dark. You've got hinds feet. You're like a gazelle. You go and be like a gazelle. I love you. You're really good, Jesus. You can do it. You go and be on the mountains. I know you've called me to come, but that's because it's easy for you. Because Jesus, you're a gazelle. You can go on the mountains in the dark. But me, I'm a human and I need it to get daylight first. I need the shadows to be gone. I need it to be in a much better time and a more comfortable time for me. So thank you for calling me to come up the mountain, Jesus. And I will, because I love you, because you're mine and I'm yours. But right now, I can't actually do it. So you do it, and then later on, when it's better, I'll come. Have you ever done that when he's asked something of you? You thought, well, yeah, Jesus, it's easy for you to say, it's easy for you to do. You can do it. You can love that person who's difficult to love. But me, you know, I'm still human and I'm finding it difficult. But the thing is, he said to her, it's now. Now's the time. Now, when you've opened yourself to me, even that little bit, when your bloom is opening, now's the time I want you to come. Not when you're perfect, not when you think you've got stag's feet, hind's feet, and that you're skilled enough to go on the mountain in the dark. I'm calling you to come now, and I'm calling you to trust my feet, to trust the fact that I can do it. That's what I'm asking of you. I'm asking you to trust me, that if I've called you, I will also give you the strength to fulfill it. And I need you to be able to rely on me, not on your own strength. Because if you come to do something for Jesus, to meet with him in your own strength, then you can be thanked and praised and glorified for it. You can say, I did this, I came, I learned these, I brought myself to this place by my strength. And Jesus doesn't want that. He says to us, I want you to come in my strength, in his strength. He wants us to come depending on his gazelle's feet. He's called us now, whenever that now is for you, and he needs you to respond then, in that now. Not to say, turn, my beloved, and when it's a more convenient time, come back for me. But she says, you see, she is in a place where many of us are, where we all start off, a place of infatuation. We love Jesus, we love God, we're so glad to be saved. But when it comes to the crunch time, they say, when the rubber hits the road, when we're asked to do something that looks above and beyond our ability, we flinch back, because our love for him is just a little bit immature. And that's okay, because everybody starts immature. Nobody is born an adult. Nobody is born fully grown, knowing it all. We're all born a baby that can't feed itself, dress itself, doesn't know what to do if it's hungry, if it's tired, if it's dirtied itself. It relies on its parent to do it all. And this is part of the beauty of this book, is we watch this bride begin in this place, infatuation, can't wait to be with him, realizes his love's like better than wine, he's just so amazing. But then he asks something of her, and that's where she finds, okay, my love's not quite as much as I sing. It's not quite as much as the words that I use when I worship. When it's difficult, I'm not quite there yet. And the most beautiful thing is, he still loves us in that position anyway. It's kind of part of our growing, part of our maturity, to recognize that we are not really there yet. We're still on the journey, we're still growing, and we've got a long way to go, but it's just part of the journey, and all of the journey is amazing. This part is just so beautiful as much. There's a little bit later on where Jesus says, one glance of your eyes ravishes me. So just the fact that our bloom opens, that we give him one glance, that we're saying, I want to get closer to Jesus. And even though afterwards we retract a little bit and we say, I do want to get closer to Jesus, but I can't quite do that yet. He wants us to. He's calling us. And if you overcome and you do it when he calls, that is awesome. But if you haven't yet, if you still said, you go and be like a gazelle, you go and be the God that you are, I'm still human. If you have said that to him, he still loves you with a passion and desires for you to grow in him. And that is the journey that you're on. And as we walk through this Song of Solomon, we'll see, and you'll find yourself, as you respond to the things that you're learning, you'll find yourself growing past that. And there will be a day when he calls you to do something that you thought you'd never be able to do. Maybe it's get up at 3 a.m. when you only got to bed at 12 because the kids were crying. Or maybe it's cook something and take it to your neighbour next door when your neighbour's been really a difficult person for you, or you're just afraid of people, or you don't even think your cooking's that good. But he asks you to do it, and you say, yeah, I don't have hinds feet, I have human's feet. The mountain's a scary place. It's a bit dark, can't see where I'm going, but I'm with someone who can. I'm with someone with hinds feet, and he's called me on the mountain, therefore I'm going. And that's the place where we're all going to be. We're getting there because Jesus is coming back for a pure, spotless bride. So we are destined to get to that place. You've just got to say yes. So I'll leave that with you, and I'll see you next time. And we'll move on to what happens after that. What happens after she says to him, you go. Look forward to that. See you again soon. Bye now.